Hey now. Yeah, so this is one about the BBQ because folk ask us all the time, how do we fall on it? And, that whole thing. I did touch up on that a little bit earlier, but, I guess, look, it started me as a little kid. I was always, scientifically minded. So I always had like a magnifying glass in my pocket, so I could like pretty much start a fire and set anything alight, like pretty much anytime, anywhere. You know what I mean? A little bit of sunlight, whatever. Right. And me being that kind of kid, like I remember as a little one, my uncle's in the backyard trying to, they're having a hard time with a BBQ, and I jumped in, and my uncles was so impressed that I, started up this thing, and I guess it was either that or a combination of them knowing that I was my mom's right-hand man in the kitchen. It just, and every time someone was throwing a barbecue, I ended up being the one on the grill, and it just went from there. Like all my, growing up, I just remember anytime somebody was queuing, it was me on the grill. So when I ended up in this company, every 2 weeks, we were in a different state, different town, as a traveling company. The boss, my boss of our group, he was a bit, he was a bit of a wild boy. So he used to schedule us to be in towns when, anything funky was going on, right? Like, so like for Mardi Gras, whenever Mardi Gras was on, we were, just happened to be a coincidence that we were scheduled to be in town, or when we'd be in Seattle for the Rose Festival or in New York for the Labor Day parade, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's just how our schedule just seemed to work out. So his hometown, he was from the South, and in his hometown, when they were doing the a barbecue competition, the big one in his town, we was there for that. So here I am, I jumped in talking about, oh, I could jump in this. And it was the roar of laughter, all right, from all the people around when I said that. The immediate roar of laughter that kind of got to me, all right? And that's what made me say, oh, hell no. Y'all, I'm not getting clowned like that. I'm going to let y'all know. And back then, the competitions were seriously judged on, a thing like burn marks, because the big thing back then was folks trying to cover up burn marks with barbecue sauce, and judges were like really, really about that, right, for points and that kind of thing, right, getting points taken away, so on and so forth. And I whipped up, a batch of my special barbecue sauce, and I won on the strength of the flavors, and I was able to cook chicken to perfection, and I only cooked enough for the judges. Okay, that was another thing, was that usually mostly everybody cooked food for the judges and for everybody else, but you got judged on what you made. So I only did enough for the judges, and I cooked it to perfection, and that was it. So there was a lot of hoopla. When I won that competition, right, there was a lot of animosity, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of folks kicking off, and needless to say, nothing was funny anymore. And, to me, that was great, right? But I had a lot of folk coming at me like, oh, there was a fluke, this, that, and the other. And what ended up happening was one of the old heads came to me, well, a couple of the old heads, but one in particular that I'm still cool with till this day. I still call him up, still talk to him every now and then, because I still need advice on certain bits. And, when I come into a new wood and don't know how to blend this with what food, what am I going to cook this with, what meat, this, that, and the other, like sometimes folks say, if I'll do a lamb or venison and this and that or boar and whatever. Right. So I'll still call him up. Well, anyway, he was the one that came to me and was like, look, son, right, you're going to show me, how you did that. And I'm going to show you, what's the deal with smoking. So, okay. I ended up under his wing, and, he trained me up on smoking. So the next year when I jumped in the competition, I didn't win. I only placed. But because I had to learn more about blending the smoking techniques with the flavors of what you're cooking, that kind of thing, and I got beat. So but the third year I jumped in, having my techniques and the smoking and everything perfected. The third year that I jumped in, that was my second competition that I won. Then the next year and the next year after that, I won those consecutively. And that's when everybody kind of treated me like, I was treated as the son of the South that had been taken away at birth and was raised, by wolves and has now returned to the South. So I was like, all right, that's cool. And I was happy with that, right? I, had a reputation, had my name, and yeah, it's all good. So, and then after that, just life happens, and I never ended up going back for another one, going to the Navy and everything else, right? Life happens. So now here, when we are here on Jaywick Lane trying to do burgers, eggs, and sausage and all that, I was like, oh man, this is not going to work. I talked all about that in another video. So another thing was back home that I forgot to mention was we have a road called Church Avenue, and I lived at the very top end of Church Avenue, right? Church Avenue goes all the way straight through Brooklyn, all the way down the deep ends of Brooklyn, right? And at the top, the Jamaicans used to have a shop where they used to, make food and all that, but they'd have the drums out there on the road, like 5 or 6 drums piled high with chicken. And when they smoke it up, I mean, it'd be smoke for 5, 6 blocks. You can't see nothing. But the thing about it was the buses, you drive through there, you ride through that smoke, you was instantly starving, and you would look and the corner would be like here, but the line would go all the way around the block, all the way around the corner, bend the corner again. The line would be so long for the food. And that's, yeah. So I thought, you know what? Let me do, a bit of what I do here on Jaywick Lane. I says, and try to, turn it in, Church Ave, do a little Church Ave, smoke up the, the lane and let folks smell the food. And y'all see where that went. But see, that's how come when I got folk now that come to us and they're like, oh, do you see this place over here, they're doing barbecue now. Or these folks over here, they're doing ribs now. Or my favorite, these folks over here, they're doing jerk chicken now. I mean, for me, it makes us giggle because, first of all, the funniest thing is, I don't know these places. I don't watch these places. I don't know where to look. And I'm so focused on, cooking and doing everything. We rarely have time. You guys see how bad I am at returning messages or, posting things in a timely fashion and all that. So looking at other folks and what they're doing, it's when people come and tell me, that's when I might have a look. Oh, all right. I see this. Yes, I see that. But folks come and tell us, hey, these people are doing this now, or now these folks are doing this now. So when I hear that, it makes me laugh because, like you talk about folks, they're doing pulled pork. I says, well, what is it? It's not like yours. We know that. Come on, it's never going to be like ours. Folks are boiling this up. And then, chucking their favorite bottle of barbecue sauce in it, calling it barbecue, this and that. I mean, you're not ready. You know what I mean? And, you doing jerk chicken in an oven and whatever else. You slapping your seasonings all on the chicken, patting it, chucking it in the oven. You're not ready. You know what I mean? You get a bag of whatever frozen jerk from the freezer, whatnot, and you chucking pieces in the deep fryer. You're not ready. You know what I mean? So all that stuff to me, it's not, folk are like, oh, is this competition? No, just because they making food, that's not competition. For me, competition is somebody else, know how to run a smoker. They got some ribs on the smoker and they came out fall off the bone just like ours. Okay, now you might be talking about some competition. All right, but all right, if they not doing that, it's not competition, man. You know what I mean? Just because some folks is throwing the bottle of barbecue sauce and slapping it on this, calling it BBQ, mate, good luck. All right? So, anyway, I fell onto that thing because, like I said, when we first started, man, I knew that folks were going to be trying to copy and trying to bite what we do. You know what I mean? So, folks talking about whatever they want to do, it's all good. You know what I mean? I knew that was going to happen because that's what folks were telling us to do in the beginning. They said for us to copy this, copy that. And I said, we not copying nobody because we ain't got to. You know what I mean? So we jumped in it. And, that's where we at with it. That's why it went that way. And yeah, it's all good. So when it comes to the BBQ or anything we do, y'all know y'all know where it's at and y'all know how it got down that way. All right. The skills over here is for real. Okay. Ain't nobody playing games over here. All right. So with that, peace and enjoy.